When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind the beautiful game with me, producer Guy, standing in for the injured Kevin Day, and Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire. Kieran Maguire, hi Kieran.
Hi Guy, how are we doing?
I'm alright, I can just about say
You've got my name there.
I did, I was too busy looking ahead on my script that I forgot what I was doing. But let's start, Kieran, never mind forgetting names. We've got to start with the most important thing. You went to see Kevin on Friday, how's he doing?
Yes, so this is a report from Kevin's ward. I popped down, he's in Tooting, he's in a ward with about 5 or 6 other patients as well. He was a bit groggy, he's in a lot of pain, there's no doubt about it, but then he's broken his back. The good news is that Dr. Bones, friend of the show, Dr. Bones has said no surgery, which is a huge relief. So he's got broken back, broken pelvis, broken ribs. He did manage a few steps, so he's on a little frame. So he did manage a little bit of a stroll. So we had a big chat. There is a Marks and Spencer's at the hospital. So all of the accusations about me being middle class, and Kevin ends up in an NHS hospital with his own branch of Marks and Spencer's. So I've filled him up with Percy Pigs and Colin the Caterpillars and wine gums and so on. So yes, and lots of people have been in contact, and he really appreciates. Just want to say a big thank you to all the listeners who have been in contact through a variety of means. It does genuinely make a difference. It keeps his spirits up, and that's what we want to do most of all. I think he's probably going to be in for at least another week. We'll just have to see how he gets on in terms of mobility, how he responds to physio. So that's where he is. He sends everybody his love. He did actually talk to the hospital about recording the show from his sickbed. This is what a pro. Yeah, what a pro. But the nurse said, not on your Nelly, words to that effect. We've got a job here to do, and you can absolutely understand it. They don't want people, messing around with microphones and headphones and laptops and so on. So it's you're here. Justin Morehouse, look, just please stop. Yeah, we've got it under control. Don't worry. We appreciate your concern. But myself and Guy, how long do we go back, Guy? I mean,
it's got to be 10 years at least, I think, hasn't it?
Oh,
probably more than that,
least.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's probably more than that. Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll soldier on. But thanks for all the messages. We have forwarded all the ones that we've received so far to Kevin, so keep them coming in. If anyone hasn't sent one yet and they would like to, we will pass it on to him. Just send it to questions@priceoffootball.com. He is very appreciative of all those. So thank you for those. And obviously we all send him our best wishes. because this is the price of football, though, Kieran, final question. You know, was there any rumours of when he might return, be back to full fitness?
No, let's be in the hands of Dr. Bones first, who can be our secret surgeon. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay as long as I wanted to because I did have a footballing issue to deal with on Friday as well. So I was in Liverpool. I was teaching in Liverpool first thing. Jumped on a train, went to see Kevin, and then went to the US Embassy. And whilst en route to the embassy, I got a call from Channel 4. Can you do an interview? So I was there with my iPhone as my camera at arm's length. Fortunately, I'm quite lanky, so I've got long arms. And then bizarrely, I'm at the US Embassy later that evening, and I get a message from the Baroness. You told me you were going to some swanky event, and you appear to be in the rain. What are you doing? You know, I demand to know the story. So I said, no, I was actually outside the embassy doing the interview. So we of course we had the World Cup draw. There was I must confess, I went to sort of the press briefing, and there was a very impressive presentation put together by the US authorities. So there was somebody there from transport, there was somebody there from security, there was somebody there from tourism. An awful lot of work has gone into making the 2026 World Cup an exciting event, and we're hoping to get somebody from the embassy perhaps to pop on the show. You know, you can park other issues, you know, in terms of the event itself on Friday, which I think the word surreal came to mind at times.
I did watch some of it, and I mean, it was. I did feel like I was in some sort of dystopian science fiction film at times. The way Infantino was talking and was sort of strutting around the stage talking to Kevin Hart and Heidi Klum, it was just. I didn't know. I found it hard to compute what was happening.
It was like Phoenix Nights in certain parts. Very, very bizarre. But the question I have, producer guy, the question I have is that should President Trump win the FIFA World Peace Prize 3 times, does he get to keep the trophy?
Good question. So at the event, then, did you watch these presentations in person, and then did you all sit through the televised event?
We had a press briefing to begin with, so it was a Q&A with journalists. I'm still not quite sure why I was invited. I think they mixed me up, but as happens quite often, I think they mixed me up with Kevin Maguire of the Daily Mirror, which
maybe.
I mean, Alan Brazil quite often calls me Kev, for example. But
the BBC Breakfast often put you as Kevin Maguire.
Yes. Which is fine. I can take it. I can park my ego. So it was that was good, and there were people from Scotland as well who were coming in via Zoom, asking questions as well. So it was very well briefed, and it turns out that the United States Embassy, which is a fantastic building at Vauxhall, has got amazing views over the Thames. We went up to the 10th floor to watch on the multi-screen the draw and the show itself, which was coming from United States. It turns out they've actually got their own pub, which was incredible. Wow. What a British thing to do. So they had their own, and it was a free bar until midnight. So some of my I won't call them fellow journalists because that's it. I wouldn't taint me with them. You know, they are professionals. So some of my fellow scribes were there, and I was thinking, I'm a little bit Wolfie Smith still. Yeah, I'm a little bit freedom for tooting myself. Going back to my youth, I thought, I could really stick this to the US taxpayer if I worked my way through the bar. So I had I had 2 lemon sodas and a peach. And a peach iced tea. So that's and it was a free bar. So sorry, American taxpayers. If he puts up your rates, it's down to me.
By the way, just a final question on this. I'm sure that there were good canapes. Were there good canapes?
Oh, they were absolutely They were.
Were they like American, Mexican, Canadian?
They were very, very American. I can assure you, very, very American.
They weren't sharing the limelight in the U.S. Embassy.
No, absolutely not. Yes, so yeah, I picked out. I had to try everything at least once.
What was the highlight?
The pulled pork sliders. Oh.
They'll live long in the memory.
It will, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, yeah. I mean, it was a surreal event. It must have been even more surreal watching in the US Embassy. But what a great thing to be invited. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well,
representing the price of football.
That's right. I think it's fair to say there was a whooping and a hollering taking place when some of the draws came out.
Brilliant. We'll leave you with that mental image. So let's get into the questions. All right.
Absolutely.
So it's our questions episode today, and our first one comes from Stuart Ferguson, who says, "I work in venture capital, in brackets, the less murky end, I promise. And part of my job is figuring out how to incentivize and retain key talent within the companies I invest into. Usually investors like me insist that those companies create an option pool which rewards key employees with equity in the company without them having to put money in, subject to their performance and them staying in position for an agreed term. My question is, why isn't this mechanism commonly used to incentivize and tie in players and managers at clubs, particularly now many have financial institutions as owners that will operate similar mechanisms with their other investments?"
I think this is a fair question, Stuart. My response to this is that I think there are such schemes because a footballer's contract is very significantly different from that of, if Stuart's investing in tech, if he's investing in retail, if he's investing in whatever it's going to be. Employees can normally give 1 month, 3 months notice. And I can absolutely understand from his perspective that he wants to effectively give them some form of golden handcuffs, to tie them into the long term, because especially in the service sector, it's a talent-based industry, and you don't want to lose your best talent. I've been monitoring what's happening in the world of AI at present, and some of the packages being offered to people who are moving from from Microsoft to ChatGPT and vice versa, and left, right, and centre, have been absolutely eye-watering. In the world of football, we've got a registration certificate, which effectively does the same for an employee, and it means that should that employee leave, somebody else has to pay substantial amounts of compensation. And we call that, of course, the transfer fee. But just going back to what Stuart was saying, how do we incentivize the individual? I get to see the odd contract in the football industry, and they are hugely incentivized in the sense of, normally on the anniversary of signing the contract, you will get a loyalty bonus. That's regardless of whether you play or not. You'll get a loyalty bonus because you've stayed 12 months. So therefore, those might be tiered. So if you stay 1 year, you get $1 million. If you stay 2 years, you get 3 million, and so on. So these can be very substantial. Secondly, going back to what Stuart was saying, you want the best talent. Well, the best talent wants to play in the best competitions. So again, looking at player contracts and manager contracts, they are highly incentivized towards qualification for Europe, or avoiding relegation, or being promoted. And once you've tasted a European adventure, once you as a professional in the industry, and people forget that footballers actually want to play football against the best footballers. They have both a financial as well as an emotional investment as far as this is concerned. So they don't tend to have share options, and the reason why, Stuart, I think they wouldn't have share options is that normally, for people not familiar with options, the way that it would work, let's say that you didn't want me and Kevin to leave the price of football. And what you do, you say, right, this is the deal, guys. I can't afford to pay you what you think you're worth. But in 3 years' time, if you're still with Producer Guy Inc. or whatever it's going to be called, I'm going to give you the opportunity to buy shares, which will give you 20% of the business. Mm-hmm. And if we grow the business as much as we think we do, then this is how much I think it'll be worth. So therefore, you see now I've got two incentives. A, if I stay, I get the bonus. And B, if I deliver a good product, the value of the business goes up even more. So this acts as sort of a virtuous circle. And this is how venture capital and these types of schemes work. And again, it doesn't cost any physical cash because what you're giving is shares. Why wouldn't it work, therefore, in football? The reason why I suspect this is not the case is simply to make it easier. Let's say that you've done that. Let's say you've offered a footballer, if you stay for 5 years, you'll get 5% of the club. And then in 3 years' time, Real Madrid come along and they say, we want to buy this lad. We're willing to pay an £80 million transfer fee. Can we sign him up? And the player goes, well, yeah, I'd quite like to leave, but if I stay another 12 months, I end up with 5% of the football club. And can you see, it actually works counterproductively. So that's why I don't think it would work in terms of players. I know that Ian Holloway, when he was at Grimsby, there was talk about him having equity stake in the club, but that didn't quite work out. Thinking about my own club, again, we looked at players, we've looked at managers. Who else could be involved? Well, executives. So if we take a look at the case of Brighton, and I'm not blowing smoke up the chief executive's backside, but Paul Barber is a very capable, very highly regarded person within the industry, and I'm aware of other clubs who have potentially wanted his services. Now, I've no idea if those conversations took place, but I know I've been asked by other clubs or other people to say, well, what's your assessment of Paul? And I go, I will give an honest assessment because it would be unprofessional not to do otherwise. So what have Brighton done? He's now the second biggest shareholder in Brighton, and he's part of a long-term plan. So that's effectively tying him in. And again, if the club is successful, and anybody that saw the performance against West Ham this afternoon is probably chuckling away at this. If the club is successful, then he benefits financially in the form of having a stake in a successful business, which you can then cash in.
So is it fair to say that it potentially doesn't work on the playing and managerial side because of the short-termism of a lot of the contracts and the length of stays, but for executives it does work because people tend to stay at clubs for 10 years plus?
Absolutely. If you take a look at the average tenure of a championship manager, I think it's now down to 10 months. So, what's the point of having a long-term incentive plan when it tends to be the club itself which reaches for the panic button far too quickly, in my opinion? And the reason why I say that is that I do a little bit of teaching at the League Managers Association, and as an academic, you get to produce and see data. And in my opinion, one of the biggest misconceptions in football is that change is the same as improvement. So therefore, we've had a few bad results, change the manager, that will improve, and rinse and repeat. Look what happened at Nottingham Forest earlier this year, for example.
If you've shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes it incredibly easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/promo. Go to shopify.com/promo.
This episode is sponsored by Shopify. When we started The Price of Football and things started to take off, it all got a bit overwhelming at times as we were suddenly sorting out recordings, interviews, live shows, and our online store. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. With Shopify, you get your own design studio that includes hundreds of ready-to-use templates. You can accelerate your content creation with Shopify's AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. And you can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify.
Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball, all lowercase. So go to shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball to take your business to the next level today. That's shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball.
Our next question comes from Ira Jersey, and he says, I'm a co-owner of a high-level amateur club in the US, Real Central NJ Soccer, that is looking to move to the professional ranks. Given there's two things that need funding, our stadium and facilities, and then the club's soccer operations, which can either be under one umbrella or two separate funding sources, I'm curious, in England or Europe as a whole, outside of the fan-owned Phoenix Club AFC Wimbledon, is there a typical means for lower division clubs moving up the pyramid to buy or rent professional level facilities? I can say that in the US, the facilities issue is by far the largest, unless you rent a university or municipal facility, which vastly limits revenue opportunities.
Yes, I know Ira. I know Ira works for Bloomberg, and I've been I've been interviewed by Ira. I've got a lot of time for what the guys at Bloomberg do. Well, Ira, my response to this would be the majority of clubs have their stadiums as a result of a historic legacy. There is the clubs. Most clubs have been around for at least 100 years, and yes, there have been movements as far as stadiums are concerned. So, is there the opportunity to rent a stadium from a local municipality? I think this is quite common in continental Europe, but is less so in the UK because the club already had a stadium which has been provided or bequeathed to it. If you go back and look at the history of football, professional football started. Remember, professional football started in Northern England. And why did it start in Northern England? Because that's where the factories were. And when legislation was changed during Victorian times, which restricted the ability of mill and factory owners to work people 7 days a week, that you had to go and let them go normally at lunchtime on a Saturday. Pubs weren't open in the afternoons. You know, we had Victorian licensing laws. So what were the factory workers going to do on a Saturday afternoon? So the mill owners and the factory owners said, I'll tell you what, they've just been paid. We'll get some of that money back by setting up a professional football team. So there was an element of circularity taking place here. So that's why many clubs have had stadiums for many, many years. In terms, however, of smaller clubs in the lower divisions moving stadiums, the traditional debt markets that would offer bonds or banks would be reluctant to lend to a loss-making institution. So therefore, that tends to be in the minority. At the level of Premier League, where you've got clubs where you think, well, this club's never going to be relegated, so therefore it's got guaranteed revenues. I would be therefore willing to learn. If we take a look at, for example, the Spurs stadium, although Spurs did test that relegation ethos quite close last season.
Some investors must have got a bit twitchy at that point.
I would have been fascinated to find out whether the lenders had incorporated a clause into the contract which said if the football club is relegated, these are the consequences. Because Spurs have got the best loans in world sport. They've gone right at the right time. So therefore, sort of the traditional debt markets don't tend to go towards lower level football clubs. So therefore, you are actually reliant upon owner funding. Now, that owner funding can be in the form of debt, or it can be in the form of shares. What one will often convert into another, the former into the latter, because there are no alternatives. So therefore, unfortunately, Ira, you are reliant upon the benevolent dictator. And I've always said that a benevolent dictator is, in my opinion, the most logical model to have in football. But there's some people who are dictators who are not benevolent, and there's some people who are benevolent who just don't really understand football, and the club ends up in a series of problems. What else are the opportunities at lower levels? Well, you could have something similar to what we see at Wimbledon Tennis Club. You mentioned AFC Wimbledon in his question, and what we refer to as personal seat licenses, which is effectively you buy the right to buy a seat in the stadium. I think this is something which Barcelona have undertaken. I'm certainly aware that Ineos are considering it for New Old Trafford. And you'll say, well, I get a 25-year license and I can actually sell that seat for individual matches, provided I pay my annual fee and so on. So that's another alternative. But on a more broader scale, why would somebody buy a 25-year license for a League Two football club when there's thousands of empty seats at every match? So that is something to be aware of. It's actually really tough getting the funding. There are no shortcuts here, and you are reliant upon the kindness of strangers or the kindness of local folk who have had a experience of success and who are willing to put funding in. There's no fund as such available.
I hope that answers your question, Ira, and good luck with the next stage for the club. Next question is from Andrew Robinson. He says, can you shed any light on what's going on at Farsley Celtic? The club withdrew from the Northern Counties East League for this season, which we covered, I believe, back earlier this year, saying the decision formed part of a wider strategic review of its structure regarding a proposed takeover. But Andrew says, we haven't heard much since then.
Yes, I have been in touch with the secret Farslian. How can I describe him?
Have you just made that word up?
Well, yeah, very probably. There is matches taking place as far as Farsley Celtic's women's team. So if you follow the Farsley Celtic Twitter feed, they are reporting the results for the women's team. I tried accessing the Farsley Celtic main website and it wouldn't let me. So I'm not quite sure whether that was my laptop or there are perhaps the license for that or the domain name for that has lapsed. I believe that there are interested parties. There is a new company which was set up earlier this year called FC Farsley Celtic Sports Limited. I was able to research this whilst at the Amex because I had 85 minutes today where there was really not a lot else to do. So that company has been set up, and I believe those are the people that are hoping to complete the deal. I get a feeling from having done a bit of research that the old co had substantial debts, so therefore I suspect the old co is going to cease to operate, and there's going to have to be some form of formal takeover, and then in order for Farsley Celtic to be successful, it's going to need a 4G pitch. There's no way that the club will be able to run on an even financial keel if it's just playing matches once a fortnight. So whether they'll be able to get funding for that, grants for that, and so I have been told we're not far away, and if the deal does go through, they've offered to come on the show. So communication has been made, Andrew. So something is taking place. There are lots of complications. Due diligence when buying a football club or when taking over a football club tends to be quite a tortuous experience. As somebody that's recently moved into an apartment for the first time as opposed to buying a house, I never realised there was so much work involved when buying a flat. And think about 20 flats, and I think that's what you got in terms of Farsley Celtic and the DD there.
Well, hopefully we'll hear from Farsley Celtic with some good news on the show. So that's something to look forward to, hopefully. Let's see. We'll watch that space. Next question is from John Hatfield. And John says, whilst taking my 6-year-old into A&E recently, in brackets, he was fine, just a little burn to his arm, which has healed nicely, thanks to the wonderful NHS staff. We're glad to hear that, John. He was particularly happy to see a, quote, real-life footballer in there with us. Whilst I won't name him, his team or the hospital, he was still in his kit and team-branded tracksuit. This was around 4 hours after his injury and was some distance away from the ground he was playing at. In brackets, I'm assuming this must have been where he lived. The team he played for are in the 7th tier of English football, and this got me thinking, at what level would a player be looked after by the team's medical staff rather than being sent into an NHS hospital on a Saturday evening to what would I assume would have been a long wait to be seen? I still thought this was unusual that a player would have been left to his own devices to sort out his own medical care, and wondered if this was fairly common practice.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing one, John. My response to this is that if you're down at tier 7, you're dealing with a semi-professional football club. They wouldn't necessarily have a club doctor. They probably have a physio. Now, a physio's medical knowledge, by definition, is going to be limited because they're not a medical doctor, and therefore they'll magic sponge, yes, bit of massage, a bit of giving the test to make sure you're not too dazed and confused. Yes,
what day is it?
Get back on. And I remember when I was playing. This was in the Manchester Accountants Sunday League Division 2. And this was a Thursday night match. For anybody that knows Manchester, and as anybody who's played at Half End, which is the road which comes effectively from the motorway and leads into Manchester. There's these huge number of playing fields, quite legendary, opposite Withington Hospital, and. I was playing. It was a Thursday night match, but it was in April or May, so it was light. So we kicked off at 6:00. After 20 minutes, Cross came over. I thought I'm going to get to this first. I went flying in, connected with the ball, and carried on flying straight into the post. So and I was seeing stars. And I said to our captain, I can't see. I fractured a cheekbone, I fractured my nose, done a load of damage, a bit of claret as well. All good stuff. And I said, look, I'm seeing double. Can you need to substitute me? And he said, no, I can't. I've got an agreement with our centre forward that he's going off at half time because he's on a hot date tonight, and the sub's coming on for him. So I had to spend 70 minutes playing, seeing double, and all I did, I've got no idea of the result. I just trotted around. I knew who the centre forward was, and I just stayed within 5 metres of him and tried to sort of get close to him when the ball went across. And then I had to drive, or tried to drive home, and I
this
couldn't
gets
drive.
Worse.
And it was an absolute nightmare. And so, I was walked. I was walked by one of my fellow players. You're not fit to drive to Withington Hospital. So at Manchester Accounting Sunday League Division 2 level, it's go to the NHS. Where further up the scale, I mean, tier 7, I suspect they're slightly better than us football wise, but we always had very neat team sheets. So there's a yin and a yang
Yeah.
to this guy. It's a yin and a yang.
Comprehensive end of year statistics, I'm sure.
Yes, and guess he used to do those. So at tier 7, John, the chances are that you're not going to have medical insurance for playing staff, and therefore, on the back of that, it will be a case of we think you've done something. You might, if it was serious, you'd get somebody to accompany you to hospital. But if it's deemed to be a minor injury, then go along and look after yourself. Where does the cut-off point begin and end? I suspect you're probably talking National League. That most clubs' National League are full-time. There's a couple which are part-time. They might have the services of a medical doctor on a Saturday afternoon, but even so, the doctor might say, "This is more serious, and we're certainly not going to send you to a private hospital. You're going to have to go to the local A&E."
Well, as a coach now of Huff End Griffin's under-10s, I can confirm it is an unforgiving place on a cold and wet day or evening.
It's bleak. So, yeah. It is bleak. Huff End Griffins. How's the season going?
Very well, thanks. Yeah. We're so my son plays for the under-10s, and this is now our 4th season. Me and the other 2 coaches coaching them together, and it's we love it. It has its challenges, as I'm sure you can imagine, having 10 9-year-olds trying to explain the finer points.
10. Well, you need 11 of them, so that's the first challenge.
It's 7 aside.
Okay, right.
But explaining the finer points of 2-3-1 to your squad is, it's not always well received. They'd rather have a pylon than listen to me. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, it has its challenges.
But I believe, producer Guy, that you've got your UEFA badge. Is that right?
Well, yes, this is true. I have just completed my UEFA C license, so I'm a qualified coach now, which I'm very proud of.
Cool.
And
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I already feel like a better coach having done it. So yeah, I'm grateful to the coach developers who helped me through there. And it's good. It's good to be qualified, as you know, Kieran. All right, our final question. Well, sort of our final question. I'll explain why in a minute. But so Richard D has our final proper question, which is, having read the paltry attendances recorded during the group phase of the EFL Trophy, my question is a straightforward one. Is there any kind of financial benefit for any of the League One and League Two clubs that have had to enter this competition? Or is it, as I suspect, a loss-making exercise when you factor in the costs of being in this competition?
Well, Richard, you're absolutely right. There is a high financial incentive. For people not familiar with the EFL Trophy, the clubs in the Premier League are concerned, or were concerned, that their younger players were not getting to play what we might call a robust football. And therefore, their development, to a certain extent, was being stifled. So they came up with this idea, and the EFL's Trophy started in 2016. League One and League Two clubs can enter, so they're not forced to do it. But there is a £20,000 participation fee. You get £10,000 for a victory, £5,000 for a draw. If you win the trophy, you get £100,000. That's the same as winning the Carabao Cup. So that's indicative of the value. So a good run in this will make you £250,000 plus a day out at Wembley. And if you talk to fans of clubs who have been there, they say, we had a great day out, So and then of course the club can sell additional merchandise and make money on the transport and so on. So it is very much a financial issue. There are 16 groups of 4 teams in I think they call it the Virtu Trophy. I think they now do have a sponsor, and in each of those there is one Premier League under-21 team, and there are 3 clubs from League One and League Two. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, these kids, they're supposed to be Billy Whizzes and so on. I can assure you that is not the case. Going into the round of 32, there was only one team who was an under-21. All of the rest finished in the bottom 2 positions as far as these competitions are concerned. I've spoken to a couple of pros, more senior pros, and they say people forget we actually enjoy playing football. And also, if there's some smarty pants who's 19, who's playing for a Premier League club, who turns up at our stadium and has got he's got the full boots and attitude. We're more than happy to remind themselves that, and then this is actually a good thing, that football isn't the bed of roses, and we do not pull out of tackles, and we have got experience. And people forget, there are tricks of the trade in football, which you won't necessarily have. It's part of your broader training experience. If you're not a first team player, you won't necessarily have picked up the more wily ways in this. And as an as a result of this, the senior teams, even though they might be from League One or League Two, tend to turn over the kids. And I think this is further evidence that you do need a bit of experience. And we're not going to go into the Alan Hansen comments. You win nothing with kids, because you look at that team of Manchester United. I seem to remember
they did okay, didn't they?
Eric Cantona wasn't the kid. Pete Schmeichel wasn't the kid. Dennis Irwin wasn't the kid. Steve Bruce wasn't the kid. You go, perhaps they weren't quite as young as and I'm not disputing that the class of '92 were a fantastic find for Manchester United, but you do need a blend, and the senior pros put them in their place.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Jason Momoa, and I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secure Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
All right, I said it was almost our final question because Richard had a PS to his question, which I thought we'd add in, because Richard says, PS, can Kieran explain how he plays his cricket game with playing cards, please? I am really intrigued by it, as when I was a schoolboy, a mate and me created a cricket simulation game using dice.
Oh,
so,
fantastic.
Go for it, Kieran. How did you play this game?
Right. Let me transport you back to 1971, listeners, of whom I will be taking quite a few back because we are aware of the demographics of this show. There was 2.5 TV channels. Children's TV didn't start until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it finished at 6 o'clock. So you had to make your own entertainment in those days. So what I did, my father was quite a good poker player. So he taught me to play poker from about the age of 5 or 6, because when my old man was doing his national service, he was his barracks. They used to play poker on a Friday night, and there was a lot of money. It was barrack versus barrack. So my dad was his barracks poker player, nominated poker player, and he was pretty good. He was. Mm-hmm. You could never read. It was not Tony Bloom's standard, but in 19. Yeah. When would he have been? It's been about 19 late 50s. So we always had packs of cards around the house. So what I did, and I don't know where I got this idea from, I probably nicked it from somebody else, was that didn't have spreadsheets in those days. So what I did, I created a matrix. And ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the vertical axis, doing exactly the same on the horizontal axis as well. So what do we now have? We now have a matrix with 169 different squares. And all I did was that I filled in the squares: 2, 1, dot ball, LBW, court, stumped, and so on. And then I would get the deck of cards and I'd take out 2 cards, and this is 6, 9, or Jack 4. And if it's Jack 4, oh, that's a 2. And then I'd pick 2 sets of teams. And I remember sort of it would be one was likely to be top of the pops last week, and the other one would be girls that I would like to talk to but haven't got quite round to it yet. So it would be something like Gwyneth Jones court Dave Hill of Slade, bold Alvin Stardust 13. And I would do this and you do it until you got 10 wickets, and then of course then the top of the Pops All-Stars would see.
All right. Well, hopefully, Richard, that answers your question. That does sound like a great game, let's be honest. This was hours of fun, presumably, in 1971.
Oh, yeah. I think David Bowie was once run out on 99 by... and you didn't, it's run out. There's no bowler, but I did write Samantha Hill's name by the side because she still didn't speak to me after that, even though she ran out David Bowie for 99. So her loss. Yeah. I wonder what happened to her.
It's a cruel world. Thanks to everyone who has joined the Price of Football Club. If you'd like to join the club too and get every episode a day earlier than everyone else, ad-free listening, an invite to our monthly Q&A sessions, bonus episodes, and more, go to our website, priceoffootball.com. If you have a question you'd like answered on the show, email us at questions@priceoffootball.com. Also, send us any messages for Kevin if you want us to pass those on. We will forward every message we get to the inbox to Kevin for him to read. Don't forget, you can follow us on X and you can find us on YouTube. If you'd like to buy one of our books or even a Price of Football t-shirt, you can find all the details on our website, priceoffootball.com. And we've just got time now for Kieran's customary farewell.
Well, on behalf of Kevin, again, I'd just like to say thank you so much for the kind words. It does mean a lot to him. Kevin likes to place himself as a bit of a rough and tough South Londoner, but he is a softie, and he was genuinely touched that so many people have been in contact through a variety of means. So we'd just like to say we really appreciate it as well. We love Kevin to bits, and he was on good form. He was back to making references to certain football club owners, which you can only do when you're on top form. Yeah. But you can support the show in a variety of ways, and one of those ways, and I'm in the studio now with the man that can confirm this, is that it helps us via algorithms and so on. If you give us a review, it'll only take you 30 seconds, it won't cost you a dime. So by all accounts, the algorithm just says, "Oh, we had a review." It doesn't read the review. So if you would like to say you'd rather have the show presented by Samantha Hill and Alvin Stardust, I'm not so bothered about Alvin. Samantha Hill and Kieran Maguire, actually, I would be absolutely delighted.
If you're listening, Samantha, you can join the club too. Thanks everyone for listening. See you soon.
Bye.
The Price of Football. The Price of Football.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. One of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed Sponsored Jobs. With Indeed Sponsored Jobs, your post stands out to quality candidates who actually fit the role. According to Indeed data, 90% are more likely to be hired and trusted by 1.6 million companies. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Now with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/Podcats13. Just go to Indeed.com/Podcats13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Podcats13. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.